Hi guys, it's September 10th, and this is your Buzz Weekly brought to you by Infegy. I'm Adam Coombs.
I'm Ben Hagedorn, and I got this shirt for $1.
$1. That's impressive.
Isn't it?
That's super impressive. All right, this week we're going to be talking about some pretty cool stuff. First up, iTunes ping. We're going to go over that a little bit.
Okay.
We're going to talk about the new iPods.
New iPods.
By Apple. And a little something I like to call Google Instant. I came up with it.
Nice.
Yeah.
I'm a PC, and Windows 7 was my idea, but I'm going to talk about football, actually.
All right. That sounds good. All right, well, we'll start out with iTunes ping. So, Apple released a new social network. This is pretty wild, called iTunes ping, built into iTunes. This thing is pretty strange for Apple.
Oh, yeah?
Kind of cool.
Okay.
I mean, it's basically, going to be putting the last nail in MySpace's coffin.
Yeah, because they're kind of not doing much anyway.
They're not doing much.
So,
however, here's the thing. We did a little research in Social Radar. MySpace was coming up 1 out of every 16 posts about iTunes ping.
out of every 16?
Every 16 people talking about MySpace.
Whoa.
I think everyone's on the same page here.
So, does this mean MySpace is coming back?
I don't know, man. I don't know.
Because I don't want to have to rebuild my page.
You know, okay. Well, yeah.
I deleted that thing a long time ago.
Let's hope it doesn't.
Let's hope not.
All right. So anyway, there's actually, from what I could tell on some research I was doing, there was a lot of negativity. Actually, not all positive chatter. There
Really?
was some negativity. Yeah.
What was the negative thing coming up?
The biggest thing people were talking about that was negative was the Facebook Connect problem. So Facebook actually didn't allow iTunes access to add your Facebook friends on iTunes ping, which is a big problem. That's a big problem because you can't find your Facebook friends on there.
Yeah, that's tough.
I think there was some issues between the two companies. They couldn't get it worked out, and so
Can't do it.
now it's not on there.
Not on there.
It's terrible.
Terrible.
I haven't used it yet. Have you used it?
No.
Why aren't you using it?
I did notice that my icon in my deck just changed.
Oh,
it used to be the little note. Now it's a note in a purple circle.
That's right.
So
that happened.
I mean, that did.
Well, I'm glad you're keeping up with all the new technology. That's great.
I'm down.
Awesome.
What else is going on?
All right, iPods. New iPods this week. Apple released some great the whole new lineup. They got brand new iPod Touch, beautiful Retina display screen, just like the iPhone 4. They got the new iPod Nano, which has a little touch screen on it. It's super cute. It's got you can turn the little pages. It's really awesome.
Nice.
People are making watches out of it because it's the exact size of a watch.
Watches.
You just add a band, boom, done.
Duct
watch.
tape. Done.
Anyways, and we got the new iPod Shuffles, which are basically they're bringing back sort of the old design, bringing back the buttons, They got the voice control still.
It's funny you mentioned the old design. I still have the old design. I have one of the first iPods that came out. It was the big brick. It was
that thing,
like an inch
awesome.
thick. It was like solid metal. The thing wasn't breaking. I dropped it out a window. It still works.
I'm still seeing you carrying that thing around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm at, just so you know.
Yeah. That's
a little disclosure.
Awesome. All right. So anyway, I want to ask you, what do you think the most positive conversation was around all three of those iPods? If you had to pick one that people are most excited about, based on the chatter.
I don't know. Probably the Shuffle because it's probably the smallest, right?
Cheapest.
Cheapest.
Yeah. Actually, no. It was the new iPod Nano. People are pretty pumped about it. Yeah, but I will say, based on my opinion, I think the iPod Touch should have probably been, gaining a little bit more excitement.
Yeah.
That new screen is awesome. You can play games. You can
with something about retinal something, it's got to be great.
All right, so
I don't know.
Next up, we're gonna talk about football. You got some stuff to talk about on that?
I got some stuff on football.
All right, let's hear it.
All right, so we wanted to take a look at the fantasy football conversations.
Yep.
Because I actually just read an article that the fantasy football leagues over the past 2 years have actually increased 50%. I think it's something like 30 million people in the U.S. and in Canada are now doing fantasy football. So I said, I want to know more about this, right? So we got into Social Radar.
Yep.
What I did was I looked at the volume of conversations, and actually a couple of interesting stats came up. The first one was that this month alone saw an increase of 100% from last month.
Yeah,
in fantasy football conversation as the season gets up and moving. That makes sense, right?
Yeah.
But this week, we may be seeing that start of slow down. We saw a 10% decline this week alone. Now, so one thing that's interesting, I referenced that article earlier. That was a Bloomberg article. And they had said that there was an increase over the last 2 years of 50%. right?
Yeah.
Now, when I look at Social Radar's database,
I hear people talking about it,
all the time, right?
Yeah.
Right. When we look at Social Radar's database, we actually see kind of the opposite, where we see almost a 50% decline in online conversations around fantasy football.
This year from when?
From 2 years ago.
2 years ago.
Looking at the same period.
So it's the same period of time, down 50% in conversation,
50%.
but up 50% in activity. What do you think is going on?
Referencing that same article, they were saying that people are actually starting to take the fantasy football underground. Because a lot of their bosses are concerned about the loss of productivity.
Sure.
And now, my thought, and I want to get your take on this.
Okay.
My thought is that as bosses and as kind of the older generation become a little bit more savvy about social networking sites, things of this type, my thought is that people aren't talking about it online as much because they don't want their bosses to know that they are online at work. Probably.
Yep.
Working on their fantasy football teams.
Makes sense to me.
Thoughts?
Yeah.
You like it?
I think that's right. I think you're spot on with this. I
like
mean, why
it.
else would that happen, right?
That
makes a lot of sense.
I have no idea.
Makes a lot of sense to me. That's crazy.
Yep.
Yeah.
So now something else that's really interesting is that even though there was a large increase in activity and a large decrease in conversations online, I still lose all the time.
On fantasy football?
Yeah, I'm really bad at it.
Yeah.
Like I'm always the opposite. So what I need to do is I need to tell you what I'm going to do.
Okay.
You need to just do the opposite, and I think you may come out pretty good.
I need the help. I don't play fantasy football, so I'm going to do exactly what you don't do.
Yeah.
And I'm going to beat everybody.
I think we got a good strategy.
That's perfect.
Okay.
That's
What you had said something about Google Instant.
Google
right?
Instant. This is crazy, man. Have you seen this thing?
I did see it.
It's pretty wild.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I can't see it because it's so fast.
What?
Yeah.
All right. What do you
My
mean?
eyes are deceiving me.
About?
Okay, so you type in this keywords into Google, right? Results just start popping up without even hitting any button or clicking anything. It's crazy.
Okay.
So you start typing in your results and stuff's just coming in, results just instantly. It's insane, right?
Right.
So we had to find out what people were talking about with this stuff, right? Because I don't really know what's going on. So they are obviously the big thing about Google Instant is speed, right? They are focusing on increasing the speed of Google search results. So you would think everyone's going to be talking about how fast it is, right? That's not the case. Only 2.7% are talking about how fast it is, whereas 2.8% are saying it's slow. Now, this is really interesting to me because based on my sort of first take on this, there was so much going on the screen. It's kind of busy. There's so many results coming up. It almost gives you the impression that it's a little bit slower because before you're just typing in something, you hit enter, you get your results. But now it's like there's results popping up and there's just all this stuff going on. It actually kind of seems a little slower. I think other people are having this problem too. They kind of feel like it's slower even though it actually is faster.
Do you think it's slower because you see links for a longer period of time? Right? So like before you would type the thing, you don't see anything, you hit enter and all of a sudden you see links and then you start your Google process.
Yeah,
right?
Sure.
But now you type the first letter and immediately you start seeing
your
links.
brain's doing more, you're looking at more stuff, just more that's going on.
And so instinctively we think I'm already seeing links,
Yeah.
I'm going to go ahead and connect that with the amount of time I'm spending on Google.
Yep.
I'm on Google longer now because
Yep.
I'm seeing links longer. Even though if you're able to find your site faster, maybe that's not what people are taking into account.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, what's really interesting is Lifehacker did a study on this. They did 10 searches and they timed each of them on both the old Google and the new Google Instant. And they came up with a 17-second time save on Google Instant. So It clearly is quite a bit faster.
That's a big deal.
Yeah, it's a big deal. So they have really dramatically increased the speed. Pretty genius on Google's part because when you think about it, the more results they show you, the more ads they show you, right? So they make more money. So it's an instantaneous revenue
as long as you click on them, but you're right. If the more ads you see, the more likely you are to
exposing you to more ads, right?
Yeah.
So what's really interesting about this is the most discussed topic among Google Instant Chatter. What do you think?
Bing, Microsoft, their competitor. I don't know.
You think people are talking with Google Instant? They're talking about Bing. Well, maybe, right? Because people are saying, "Oh, I'm using it more than Bing now." I don't know. I don't.
Well, you tell me.
Okay, it's SEO, search engine optimization.
Ah, so close.
Not even close at all. Anyways,
close.
So search engine optimization, this is a really important topic right now because completely shifts your way of thinking with how to optimize your website. Because now, instead of having just this sort of the typical, you type in a specific phrase or keyword, and then you hit enter, you get your results. Now, as you're typing these phrases, say there's 3 or 4 words, you're getting different ads for every phrase you're typing. Now, all of a sudden, it's a whole different way of thinking. You got to kind of position yourself to take advantage of some of those first words in a phrase. I mean, it completely changes the entire dynamic,
the whole
right?
dynamic
Yep.
of. So that, I mean, in my mind, that's a good thing and a bad thing, right? Because my thought is, it's a good thing because it increases the value of what search engine optimizers do, right? Because there's a whole industry built around just that,
sure, yeah,
right? And so that's pretty powerful for them. At the same time, it's also kind of bad because all of their projects that they've built out, maybe they've got to change a lot of this, right? So maybe they're no longer top of the list because people aren't typing out everything they need to type out.
Yep.
And I think it's
a big deal.
That's powerful.
It's powerful
It's a game changer.
Now, you can turn off Google Instant, but not many people know about this yet, and not many people are doing it. I mean, I think a lot of people want to experience this change. It's something different. It's kind of cool. It's fun, right?
Google users generally appreciate that new kind of stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've got, this could be a pretty major problem. It could also be a new opportunity for some companies to step in and take advantage of some of these new techniques. But for all the companies that have been doing something and maximizing the the value and the efficiency of how they do search engine optimization is now could be null and void.
It's all
at least with Google Instant now. It could work on the other websites, but now you got to worry about, well, I got to make sure my site's optimized for Instant and for Bing and Yahoo and all the other search.
Well, so what do you think? I'm interested to see what might happen with some of the competitors. Like, what is Bing, Yahoo, Ask?
Ask.com?
Yeah, Ask.com. Yeah, they got the cool previews that you can like hover over the link and all of a sudden the window pops up. And
right. Ask Jeeves.
Ask Jeeves, formerly known.
Whatever happened to Jeeves?
The search engine formerly known as Ask Jeeves.
Right. Is that
is Ask.com? I
just call it the artist.
The artist. Well, that makes sense.
.com. Yeah.
Okay. All seriousness. But what do you think? How do you think they're going to reply? I mean, if Google continues to just dominate market share as they've been doing for years now, and Microsoft is spending millions of dollars to try and steal market share away from them, do you think that they're going to have to come in with something new?
They might have
to try and compete with it.
It's interesting. We're going to have to keep an eye on it.
Well, we'll keep an eye on it for you. This has been a week in review with Buzz Weekly, and thank you for your time. We'll see you next week.
Bye, guys.